Hey guys, tonight we dive into a story that starts with soggy sneakers, missed meals, and the kind of sibling rivalry that makes Cain and Abel look like besties. You're standing in the rain, again, juggling two part-time jobs just to keep the electricity on. Meanwhile, your younger brother just posted his fifth poolside selfie this week with a caption like, "Work hard, chill harder." Oh, the irony. You were the quiet kid. The easy one. The one who didn't complain while your parents poured all their attention, money, and praise into your brother like he was the second coming of Einstein, or at least of someone who could pass algebra. It's a common story. Historians still argue whether birth order really affects personality, but some studies suggest firstborns often take the brunt of responsibility, while younger siblings get freedom, or favoritism, depending on your perspective. Ancient Egyptians even had inheritance customs that favored eldest sons, unless someone in the family pulled a pharaoh-worthy coup. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. I love seeing how far this sleepy little corner of the world reaches. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge up the back alley behind the pizza joint, your breath fogging in the air, stomach growling like an ancient Roman sewer lion. You've got another 6 hours on the clock before your second shift at the gas station, and rent is already 2 days late. But as you turn onto Elm Street, where the houses look like they were plucked straight from a colonial reenactment village, you have no clue your entire life is about to pivot. The delivery slip says Unit B, tucked behind a sprawling 3-story Victorian that probably predates indoor plumbing. You knock, shifting from foot to foot, praying the tip is more than $2. The door creaks open, slowly, theatrically, like something out of a 1950s Hitchcock film, and standing there is a man who looks oddly familiar. Silver hair, worn leather jacket, piercing blue eyes. "Jason?" he says, narrowing his gaze. "Are you Mark's boy?" You blink, pizza box steaming in your arms. "Yeah, Jason Carter." The man chuckles. "Didn't expect to find my nephew delivering sausage and olives on a Tuesday night." Your jaw nearly dislocates. You've heard whispers about Uncle Ron, a family legend. Disappeared decades ago after a big fight with your dad over business or land or love. Historians still argue whether family feuds in the 1800s helped define the American West, where grudges could last longer than marriage licenses. The Hatfields and McCoys weren't the only ones flinging bullets over dinner tables. Ron waves you in, his place smelling faintly of old books and pipe smoke. You decline the offer. Duty calls, and there's another delivery 2 blocks down. But something shifts in that moment. A thread reconnects. You don't know it yet, but you've just reopened a family chapter long buried under guilt, pride, and maybe a few unpaid debts. And did you know? In the Middle Ages, pizza-like flatbreads were a poor man's food, sold by street vendors to peasants too busy to sit down. Just like you. You leave the house in a daze, tip forgotten, name echoing in your ears. Uncle Ron. Real. Alive. And apparently watching your every move. 2 days later, the number lights up your screen. Unknown caller, local area code. You hesitate. Maybe it's another spammer trying to sell you a cruise or pretend you owe taxes. But you swipe anyway and his voice comes through, gravelly and unmistakable. "Jason, it's Ron. I've been thinking. Why don't you come by after your shift?" You could say no. You should say no. But when you're splitting your time between greasy kitchen backlines and late-night runs with a car that sounds like it's wheezing its last breath, curiosity becomes a kind of survival. So after your last drop-off, a double pepperoni to a sleep-deprived college kid who tipped you in change, you find yourself parked in front of that Victorian again. Inside, Ron hands you a soda, gestures to the chair opposite his. There are old photographs scattered across the coffee table. Your dad, your mom, you as a toddler. He's been keeping tabs. You sip, unsure what to say. "You got grit," he says finally. "I respect that." It's funny, the way validation hits when you least expect it, like a medieval knight finally being dubbed. Historians still debate whether the dubbing ceremony involved an actual sword tap, or if that's just poetic license. Either way, it changes you. Ron starts talking about opportunity. He owns a small contracting company now, remodeling houses, flipping fixer-uppers. He needs help. Not just grunt work. Real help. Math, planning, logistics. Skills you didn't even know you had until he puts a blueprint in front of you and says, "What do you see?" You lean in, pointing out stress points on a joist. It just makes sense, like decoding hieroglyphics after one too many ancient alien documentaries. And did you know? Some ancient builders used egg whites and mortar to hold things together. Weird, sticky, effective. So are families. When they work, Ron doesn't coddle you. First day on the job, he tosses you a pair of gloves that feel like they've survived both the Great Depression and a bar fight. "You're carrying drywall today," he says. "Mind your back and don't drop it on your foot." Or do, "I'm not your mother." You laugh just a little, then promptly drop it on your foot. The work is hard, sweaty, splinter-filled, and punishing, but something about it wakes up a different part of your brain. There's a rhythm to it, like ancient Roman aqueduct builders moving stone block by block. Historians still argue whether Roman engineers truly understood hydraulic pressure or just stumbled into brilliance. But either way, it held cities together for centuries. And now you're holding yourself together for once. Each beam you lift, every cut of lumber, it chips away at that quiet resentment you carried like a second spine. Evenings, Ron has you work on project bids, spreadsheets and supplier calls. He shows you how to negotiate. He leans over your shoulder as you type, correcting your tone. Not desperate, just eager. You learn to write emails that sound like you've got a suit on, even if you're still covered in sawdust. "You ever think about your future?" Ron asks once, as you both share a greasy bag of takeout in the cab of his truck. You think about your brother then, probably sprawled across a leather couch, somewhere air-conditioned, sipping protein shakes with names like Inferno or Berserk Fuel. And you think, maybe for the first time, that your path being different doesn't make it worse. Just longer, like how some deserts bloom only once a decade. Also, speaking of blooming, did you know tulips once caused an economic bubble so big in the 1600s that one bulb could buy a house? People are wild. You're 6 months into working with Ron when the first real change happens. Your name on the truck. It's not flashy, just a vinyl decal on the passenger side door. Ron and your name, contracting. You stare at it for a good minute. Heart thudding, like you've just been knighted with a nail gun. Ron shrugs. You earned it. That weekend, you get your own work boots, not hand-me-downs, not thrifted, but a brand new pair. It sounds silly, but sliding your feet into those boots feels like claiming a kingdom. The soles still squeak, and the leather bites your heels a little, but it's your pain now. Earned pain. You start taking side projects, a busted porch here, a kitchen redo there. At night, you study YouTube videos and old trade manuals, the kind with yellowing pages and hand-drawn diagrams. Historians still argue whether medieval guilds were proto-unions or elite gatekeeping clubs, but either way, you're building your own path, one client, one invoice at a time. One evening, you're patching drywall when Ron says, "I called a guy the first no, told him about you, he wants to meet." The guy turns out to be a developer. Sleek suit. Breath that smells like spearmint ambition. He offers you a contract for a set of townhouse renovations. It's not a lottery win, but it's your first big fish. And while you're shaking his hand, trying not to look too sweaty, you realize something. No one's saving you. But someone believed in you long enough that you started saving yourself. Oh, and fun fact, speaking of saving, there's a theory that Cleopatra used fermented crocodile dung as a form of contraception. Science says don't try that at home. But it proves one thing. Humans have always gotten creative when backed into corners. The townhouse job is brutal in that romantic, masochistic way that only people in hard hats understand. You haul beams, knock out walls, and nearly staple your own thumb twice. You lose 5 pounds and gain a tolerance for lukewarm gas station burritos. But when you step back and see the final product, those sleek kitchens, gleaming floors, and crown molding so crisp it could slice butter, you almost cry. Almost. You send Ron photos of the finished place, and he replies with a single thumbs-up emoji. The man's never been one for speeches, but that pixelated thumb might as well be a standing ovation. You start building a name, slowly, like the early days of Roman concrete, an innovation so durable it still holds up 2,000 years later. Historians still argue whether the secret ingredient was volcanic ash or divine intervention. But either way, you find your own Ash. Consistency. Showing up. Sweating through the work. Smiling even when clients change their minds halfway through a tile install. One day, you get a text from your mom. It's short. No emojis. Just, "Your father isn't well. Can you come by?" You stare at the screen for a long time. The old bitterness creeps up, thick as drywall dust in your lungs. You think about the nights you went to bed hungry while your brother got steak. About the years your name wasn't spoken unless followed by a sigh. But curiosity is a tricky thing, like how Napoleon carried a vial of poison with him at all times, just in case. People debate whether it was paranoia or pragmatism. For you, maybe it's just that you need to see for yourself. You drive over the next day. The house looks the same, except for the for sale sign out front. You park across the street and sit in silence, the engine ticking down like a nervous metronome. The for sale sign stands crooked in the patchy lawn, swaying slightly in the breeze. It looks more like a surrender flag than a real estate listing. When you knock, it's your mother who answers. She looks smaller somehow, older, or maybe just less polished without the usual scowl. You step inside and it hits you. The smell of dust, forgotten dinner plates, and something sour like guilt. Your father is in the recliner, thinned out and gray, a man collapsed into himself. He glances at you without recognition at first, then narrows his eyes like he's trying to remember if you're a dream or a debt collector. "Son," he rasps, and that single syllable folds you in half. Not with warmth, with the weight of everything he never said. Turns out he had a stroke. Not the movie kind that turns people into philosophers with new leases on life. The real kind. The kind that steals mobility, muddles words, and turns proud men into cranky shells with pill organizers. You talk. Or rather, they talk. You listen. About the hospital bills. About the mortgage. About your brother who's gone. Moved to another city. No forwarding address, no calls. You sip lukewarm tea and feel like a stranger in your own origin story. Eventually, your mom blurts it out. "We might lose the house. We didn't know where else to turn." It's quiet for a long time. You remember how early Roman aqueducts revolutionized city life. Free-flowing water from distant mountains changing everything. Historians debate whether this was the empire's peak or its poison, giving cities the illusion of control. Right now, you're their aqueduct, their only lifeline. And you haven't decided yet whether to turn the valve. You drive home with your jaw clenched so tight it could snap. The city blurs around you. Flashing lights, honking horns, the faint scent of tacos from a nearby food truck. You don't hear any of it. Your mind replays that visit like a cursed mixtape. We didn't know where else to turn. Back in your apartment, you sink into the couch. It's not much. Thrift store frame, sun-faded fabric. But it's yours. Every cushion earned with aching feet and double shifts. You look around at your space. Modest, neat, humming quietly with a sense of independence. It hits you that you've built something they never taught you to build, and now they want in. You scroll your phone absently, past memes and reels and headlines about ancient Viking settlements discovered in Canada. Historians still argue whether these were permanent homes or just seasonal outposts. Either way, the Norsemen left before they were truly rooted. Maybe they sensed something was wrong. Or maybe, like you, they just got tired of forcing things. You message Uncle Ron. "Hey, can we talk?" You meet at a diner that smells like burnt coffee and fried hope. He listens quietly as you explain everything. The visit, the ask, the confusion. When you're done, he doesn't offer cliches or pity. Just this. "So what do you want to do?" It's the first time someone's asked that in years. You think about how your brother always got the golden ticket, and you were left sweeping confetti. You think about how your parents only remembered you existed when their favorite son vanished. Then you say it. "I want to stop living like an unpaid extra in their movie." Uncle Ron grins. Then it's time to write your own script. You wake up the next morning feeling something strange. Clarity. Like a fog has lifted. The same city that usually feels like a treadmill now looks a little more like a chessboard. Strategic. Calculable. Maybe even beatable. Uncle Ron texts, "Come by the shop, got something for you." You show up, still in your delivery uniform, and he tosses you a clean polo embroidered with the shop's logo. It's a small gesture, but it lands like a knighthood. You change in the back, tucking in the fabric like you're suiting up for battle. He walks you through the basics of the business: clients, ledgers, marketing plans. You listen, ask questions, take notes. At lunch, he pulls out a box of family photos. Inside, a young man who looks just like your dad, only laughing more. You learn that Ron used to be the screw-up brother, always in trouble. Until one day he wasn't. Weird, huh? People can change when no one's watching, he says, slapping the table for emphasis. Historians still debate whether Emperor Ashoka's sudden transformation from brutal conqueror to peaceful Buddhist ruler was real or just royal PR. Either way, the pivot changed history. Like Ron's did. You go home that night and think about all the moments you dimmed yourself to fit in their spotlight. Your brother's wins, your parents' blind devotion, your years of silence. No more. You start budgeting for your own goals. Open a savings account labeled Future. Update your resume, even create a vision board with clippings from magazines. An office, a team, a sunny place with no pizza boxes in sight. You're not just working anymore. You're building. And even though you're still climbing, for the first time, the ladder feels like yours. The next few weeks turn into a whirlwind, like spinning plates, but somehow you keep them all in the air. You juggle pizza deliveries with training sessions at Ron's shop. Each late night, you collapse into your worn-out couch, the smell of pepperoni lingering on your clothes like an unwanted shadow. Your parents don't call much, and when they do, it's brief. Mostly questions about your job, your health, but nothing about your future. Your brother still lives in their world of handouts and easy wins, posting photos on social media with his designer watches and flashy cars. You scroll past without bitterness. It's just noise now. Ron starts bringing you into meetings. You learn about contracts, suppliers, the nitty-gritty of keeping a business afloat. It's not glamorous, but it feels real. You laugh at his stories about the time he accidentally ordered 500 pounds of rubber ducks for a promotional event. Historians still argue whether that stunt was a genius marketing move or a warehouse nightmare. One evening, Ron shares a fact that sticks with you. During the Great Depression, many Americans survived by building communities, not just businesses. That old spirit of resilience hums quietly between you, Ron, and the dusty ledgers on the desk. One rainy afternoon, your phone rings. It's your mom. The voice on the other end is shaky, almost begging. "We need to talk. Your dad and we've been thinking. Can you come home?" You sit there, the rain tapping gently against the window. You realize something's changed. Not just for them, but for you. You're not the same kid who left years ago, running from expectations and disappointment. You're standing taller, ready to face the past, on your own terms. And maybe, just maybe, this is the start of something new. Hey guys, tonight we dive deeper into a story where grit meets unexpected kindness, and family ties get tangled in ways you probably won't survive without a few deep breaths. You trudge through the dimly lit streets delivering pizza, every box heavier than the last, wondering if your sacrifices are worth more than the silver spoon your brother's been handed. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments. Makes this bedtime journey feel a little less lonely. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. That phone call from your mom pulls you back home after months of silence. You step into the old house, the scent of worn leather and stale coffee greeting you like an uninvited memory. Your parents' eyes hold a mix of regret and hope, but you catch the flicker of pride that's been missing. You start working odd jobs around town, not just to survive but to rebuild the bridge between your past and future. Your uncle, who's always been the family's quiet enigma, shows up unexpectedly. There's a rough kindness in his eyes when he sees you, the pizza-stained jacket, the tired but determined stance. Historians still argue whether the family dynamics we inherit shape our destiny, or just our starting point. Your uncle doesn't ask why you've fallen. He only asks how to help you rise. Over shared coffee and late-night talks, you realize this man is a lifeline, a second chance wrapped in a gruff exterior. He teaches you more than just business tricks. He teaches you to believe in your own worth. The days blur as your uncle's mentorship pulls you out of survival mode and into something resembling a plan. You watch him move with purpose, a man who once faced his own share of battles but learned to fight smarter, not harder. There's a kind of quiet history in his work ethic, reminding you of how the Industrial Revolution changed the nature of labor, shifting power from the hands of a few to the skilled hands of many. It's like you're seeing that transformation happening inside your own life. You juggle your pizza shifts with the lessons your uncle drops casually between sips of bitter black coffee. He shares stories of old family disputes that never got resolved, tales told with a mix of bitterness and humor. Historians still argue whether family loyalty is an instinct or a choice, and you're beginning to see it's more complicated than either. One day, he pulls out an old photo album, faded pictures of your father's younger days, your brother's smiling face, and a younger version of yourself, untouched by hardship. There's a photo of a pizza delivery uniform you wore years ago, now stained with more than just grease, stained with determination. Your uncle's voice softens as he talks about missed opportunities, and for a moment, you glimpse the man beneath the tough exterior. A man who once wished he could have done more for you and your siblings. That's when you realize this is more than just business. It's redemption, wrapped in the warmth of an unexpected alliance. You're learning that sometimes, family comes in unexpected forms, and salvation might just arrive with a slice of humble pie. The phone rings on a quiet evening, piercing through the silence like a sudden storm. It's your parents, and their voices tremble with something you haven't heard in years: regret. They're calling to ask for help, for a handout, or maybe just for a glimpse of the life you're now building. You listen as they stammer apologies, explanations tangled in excuses and half-truths. Your mind races back to those long days delivering pizza, the cold nights working 2 jobs, the sting of watching your brother coast by with nothing but privilege. Historians still argue whether parental favoritism is an age-old tradition or a toxic modern habit, but you know how it shaped your childhood, a shadow you carried without knowing it. You tell them you've changed, that you're no longer the kid who took everything quietly. There's a sharp edge to your voice, but beneath it, a flicker of something softer, maybe forgiveness, or maybe just weariness. You think about how family can be both your greatest gift and your heaviest burden. That night, you realize your life is no longer dictated by their choices or your brother's luck. You've carved your own path with blood, sweat, and a few unexpected alliances. And now, as they beg, you hold the power, the story firmly in your hands. It's not revenge you want, but respect. A place where your efforts matter, where your story finally gets told the right way. The days following that call feel heavy, like you're carrying the weight of every missed birthday, every unreturned call, and every moment you spent proving yourself alone. But then, there's your uncle, the quiet force who stepped in when you needed it most. He didn't judge, didn't ask why you struggled while your brother didn't. He just showed up. You remember how he told you stories about your family's history, about the times before the fights and favoritism. He shared quirky tidbits, like how your great-grandfather once smuggled rare books hidden inside loaves of bread during a war. Historians still argue whether these acts were heroic or reckless, but the stories gave you something more important: perspective. With your uncle's guidance, you start to see your own worth beyond the pizza boxes and paychecks. He helps you find confidence in the struggle, a reminder that resilience isn't about never falling, it's about getting up, even when no one's watching. You call your parents back, not to rekindle old patterns but to set boundaries. It's a delicate dance, balancing the past with your present, but you're learning that self-respect can coexist with family ties. Tonight, as you lie awake, the fan's soft hum of comfort against the city's distant noise, you understand that this journey, your journey, is far from over. But this time, you're the one steering the ship. By now, you've built a life shaped by your own choices, not by what others handed you or took away. Your brother's world and your parents' expectations feel like a distant storm, fading into the background as you focus on what truly matters: your own peace and growth. You find humor in the little ironies of life, like how the pizza delivery job that once felt like a trap became your gateway to independence, and how your uncle, the quiet man in the shadows, turned out to be the family's secret anchor. Remember that bizarre fact about ancient workers who used to take breaks by playing games resembling modern dodgeball? Historians still debate whether those games helped or hurt productivity, but it reminds you, sometimes the breaks make all the difference. Tonight, as the city lights dim and the world quiets down, you feel a deep calm settling in. You realize that family isn't just blood or history. It's the people who show up, who lift you, who believe in you when others don't. So here you are, a little worn but stronger, writing your own story one chapter at a time, with a nod to the past but eyes fixed on the horizon. And maybe, just maybe, this is where your real journey begins.